Okay, day 12, MOvember. And for today's video, I want to talk about another hero of mine. And this is Dr. Alexandra Katehakis. She is the director for the Center of Healthy Sex. And for anyone that works as a sex addiction specialist, or as a CSAT, certified sex addiction therapist, then we've all been trained under Alexandra, and with her books, which I'm about to take you through now, are some of the leading texts in the field, not only about sex addiction, but around healthy sexuality. Unlike alcoholism or drug addiction, where the goal is sobriety. I've been 35 years clean and Narcotics Anonymous. Very grateful for the journey. Can't imagine what my life would have been if I never found that sort of rescue. And what we're dealing with sex, though, is that like sex, like food addiction, we are wanting to get back to a healthier version of that. So, with the work I hope to go through tonight, just explaining some of Alex's resources, is that one of the gifts she brings to the field is that not only can she rescue you from the sex addiction, but she can restore and sometimes even just have a whole renewed, healthy sexual experience as an adult, which sometimes just feels impossible when you're a recovering person. Tomorrow, we have the privilege of Alex speaking. This is part of the Steve Stokes Counselling and Consulting. I run a very small, a little private practice here in Australia, so it's an absolute privilege. Alex is my clinical supervisor, and I always feel like I'm getting guitar lessons from Jimi Hendrix when I take what I need to best help my clients. And so tomorrow, the talk's going to be on healthy sexuality, and sometimes that's a real frontier in recovery, and we don't really know we're upon it until we're there. And so I suppose what I mean by that is when you're getting sober from sex addiction, it feels like you're running out of a burning building, everything's on fire. If you're in a partnered relationship, you've also created this sexual integrity disorder, or this relational disorder that you've really injured someone else. So there's a lot of work to do to establish sobriety, then do some healing and establish safety back in your family system. And then we're left to sort of go, well, now we're looking at across each other in the lounge room. How are we going to get back to the bedroom? And so tomorrow's talk is certainly bringing up some of these resources. I'll just quickly go through. You can find Alex online, well branded everywhere. Great podcasts, great webinars, a really accessible website, and you can subscribe to a whole bunch of things that the podcasts and the webinars, and there's so many good resources there. She leads a whole host of experienced therapists there in LA. So and they, like the rest of the world, has had to establish themselves with an online profile. So please check it out. As I said, you could have sex and relationship problems in any capacity. This is the place that you can call. So, sex addiction is an affect dysregulation. One of the things that Alex really brought to the field is there's a lot of great books for addicts to read and partners of addicts to read, but there's not a lot of great books that therapists that can grab and are led very articulately through the dynamics and the cause and the sort of neuroscience of addiction. And what Alex did when she released this book is that she brought together the attachment theories and all of the wonderful information that was exploding out of the decade of the brain, the 2000s, the noughties, where we could MRI a living brain and see the effects of trauma and the effects of trauma treatment. And so Dr. Alan Shaw, who'd been in the field working experientially for many years with Ed Tronick and Stephen Porges and Dan Siegel and this incredible, just to name a few, Louis Coslino, there's a whole bunch I'm sure I'm missing, Pete Levine, Vessel Vanderkolk. It's a long list, but those guys were writing, and then all of a sudden they get all this data that confirms their work. So Alex's work trained under two leaders in two different fields. One was Alan Shaw and one was Patrick Carnes. This book is the coming together of those two worlds, which then helps as Patrick Kahn says, the underlying trauma that drives addiction. Well, this book is the book that brings that conversation together in a way that addicts can certainly read it, partners can certainly read it, because I know that there's a confusion sometimes. Is addiction even real when you've been a betrayed spouse? But for therapists, this is the book to get that helps us understand not just identifying addiction and assessing it, but then treating it. That's the first thing I wanted to really mention tonight. This next book is a delightful book, and I remember when it first came out, I had to get myself a copy, and they didn't know who I was over there at that time, and I was lucky enough that both Alexandra and Tom, some people are, I used to be I still am a Springsteen fan, but it was a real pleasure to get this in the mail, because it was a text that just there wasn't anything really like it. It's a book that's daily reflections and on emotional erotic intelligence. So it's a book that starts to take people more deeply into healthy sexuality. There's some great books written. Tim Stein's book on daily reflections for recovering addicts and Answers in the Heart are great books to get you started, to help you stay on track. But this is a book that goes really deeply in a pretty delightful way. There's a thought for the day, a deeper reading, and some sort of daily healthy sex acts and healthy activities that you can start to invest in. And this book has won quite a few awards. It's beautifully packaged. If you get the hardcover, it's a beautifully packaged book. And it's one that, again, maybe not in very early recovery, it can be challenging, even triggering for betrayed spouses, say pre-disclosure. But as you're starting to get into healthy sexuality, this is, again, one of those books that leads the way in that conversation. A workbook that Alex put out last year, and I've got a few for a raffle tomorrow for the workshop, is this Sexual Reflections, a workbook designing and celebrating your sexual health plan. I know in Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous or Sex Addicts Anonymous, we talk about sober dating. How do we move back out into that sensuality experience without making it addictive? And then if you're a coupleship that's married, that's done a disclosure, that wants to re-engage in sexuality, how do we engage it in a healthy way? Now, this book is one of those books that's got lots. It's a workbook, so this is a book that's got lots of activities to do and rooms, the somatic drawings that we do as we tune into our body. This is unlike other workbooks. It's not a CBT workbook. It will get you to use poetry, stories, songs, that draw a lot of activities where we literally have to find it on the body. Where are we feeling this? How's this coming up for us as we design this plan for ourselves? And this is what the workshop is largely going to be about, as well as this next book, which is Erotic Intelligence. And this is again a book not to read in early recovery. It's a little too soon, but it is the seminal book. It says here that this is a groundbreaking book that will lead the field of sex addiction to those it serves onto the obvious next step of healthy sex. It fills a huge gap in helping men and women in recovery realize the full possibility of their sexual potential. And that was just a review on the front of the book by Claudia Black, who's also an addiction specialist. So this book really does bring into language so we can start to talk and practice and get techniques on how to celebrate and experience healthy sexuality in recovery. It is a real risk in recovery to do all this hard work to come clean, or through a discovery trauma, have to address your addiction, work really hard to establish sobriety, work really hard to establish a trust and vulnerability and honesty and transparency, again through disclosure, continue to build some mastery in your recovery so you've got get to some safe ground. And the last thing you want to do is to go back without a healthy sexual plan and activate sexuality again, and like playing snakes and ladders, go all the way back down to addictive sex. So these books become critical in the journey for healthy sexuality. So please, this is perhaps one of those MOvember videos where I'm plugging somebody. I definitely am. Alex is someone that I regularly listen to her content on YouTube, and I study these books. I use these books in my own recovery, plus the work I do with others. And I've got clients that I know that go over and experience some of their healthy sexuality counseling and rave about it. So that has been a bit of an infomercial, really, for the Centre for Healthy Sex, for the Dr. Alexandra Katehakis, and probably in particular, once you've established recovery, where to next? Well, this is where to next. This is the key literature and some of the key programs that they run over there that you can access, so your recovery grows. So if you can get to the workshop tomorrow, if you see this in the morning, you think, I got to be there, please do. But don't worry if you can't get to that. This isn't really an advertisement for that. It is an advertisement that recovery is a slow building, and it's a slow burn, and there's plenty of time to get done what you need to get done, and there's plenty of people that can help you. Here's some of the resources. So be gentle with your heart, and I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's video. Bye.